Welcome to Mornings with Matt, personal and professional development training that connects the art of acting with critical life skills and self-mastery. Presented by the Deering Acting Studio.
Alrighty, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Mornings with Matt. And all right, I just woke up. That's the real truth of this thing right now. I am just rolling out of bed. Isn't that right, Jakota? Yeah. Speaking of Jakota, Jakota, put your face over here on the show, will you please? Where's our editor here? Do you have the iPad, Brian?
I don't have the iPad.
I want to make sure we can see Jakota. Okay, we can. All right, Jakota. So Jakota was here early because I was supposed to be here early. So sorry, Jakota.
You know, it's...
Nobody can hear you. How do you feel about that? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
I had a good bit of anxiety coming in this morning. I was like, hey, everyone will be there. It shouldn't be too long before they get there. I'll just start cleaning up and setting up. There was a mess of cables on the table.
What?
All the cameras were...
What?
All the cameras were, like, clumped together. The lighting was everywhere.
Obviously, we have more to teach Jakota because it's now 7:12 and we're just now getting started. So, since he was so early, this thing should have been set up.
You're right.
Yeah, we gotta train you better. So here's what we're gonna do, Jakota. If you're available tomorrow, you're on the show with me. Are you available tomorrow?
I'll have to check, but...
Or do you work tomorrow? Are you working?
No, but I don't think I have anything going on in the morning.
What else would you have going on at 7 a.m.?
Family stuff.
At 7 a.m.?
Yeah, my dad and mom get up early. They get up at like 6.
And they schedule stuff at 7 a.m.?
My dad is a go-getter.
Dude, I love your dad, man. That's so tight. Okay, all right. Respect, mad respect. All right, well, the next time you're available, you're on the show. You'll be setting up with me. We'll go through cable by cable. We'll be here at like 4 in the morning. We'll do it right. Sound good?
Sounds good, man.
No, I didn't need to introduce the guest for today yet because this was the whole like slow intro. You know, this was like the anticipation is like killing everybody. They're like, who is on the show? It's I'm never gonna say it. I'm just not gonna say it. You guys aren't even like your pictures aren't even on the live yet. Like nobody knows you even exist yet on this show. All the hundreds of thousands of viewers. Okay, hold on. Here we go. Put them on.
I'll wait for it. I'll wait for the button. That's okay.
Well, without Joey, it's a little bit, hairy. All right, here we go.
Oh, Brian.
Joey is here, actually. Yeah, he's...
Hi, Brian.
Hi.
Hi.
I've been here the whole time.
We got on the show Truman and Isabel. Woo!
Yeah.
All right. Hello, Truman and Isabel.
Hello.
Good morning. We are here to do a post Valleywood wrap up, and the two of you were integral parts of our Valleywood. So I just wanted to say, number one, thank you.
Of course.
And number two, let's wrap up this camp. Let's talk a little bit about it because not everybody. Now, a lot of people saw the live, by the way, yesterday, which I got to give Joey mad props for because.
How many?
By the time I fell asleep yesterday, we already had almost like 100 people who had seen it. Yeah.
That's cool.
And what's crazy is about 5 minutes before we were like on the edge of not, a lot of things not working. And I was like, Joey, let's just forget it, like forget the live because I was pushing for that. And I'm like, I don't want things to go wrong, and he's like, dude, let's just do it. And I'm like, all right, I trust you. And so we ended up going up like 5 minutes late for the premiere, but he got it all set and it worked. And yeah, it's pretty cool.
That was great.
And according to all the students, I mean, you guys were pretty much the thing that ran camp. I mean, during this.
So I was saying to Isabel the whole time, like she's gonna be like the silent person that everyone, and she had more like she was in more speeches than I was.
No doubt. There's no doubt. Of course she was. Yeah, of course she was.
I knew, I'm like she's more of the fan fave. The people who just were talking about me were just extremely loud.
Yeah. I was in one speech. That's about it, I think. You guys were in like 90% of the speeches.
You got a solid shout out though. I mean, Colton shouted you out big time.
I
Colton,
know,
that
and
was
I'm like,
that was like a deep.
It was
like,
really nice.
I was like-
Colton is, I think he's digging real hard for an internship. That kid really wants to be here a lot.
Yeah, he's a hard worker.
And we've been talking about Colton a little bit on the behind the scenes because I like that kid a lot. He seems to be
Oh yes.
like really got a good head on his shoulders. He can have fun when it's time to have fun. He tends to do his work. He shows up ready to go. Like I never had him on set where he wasn't ready, which is nice. And to the point where he goes, hey, let me know if I'm being annoying because I keep asking how can I help. But really, that's I gave him that piece of advice. I think it was like a year ago. I'm like, well, just ask, like, how can I help? He must have asked, how can I help, like 450 times. And then, you know what? He ended up on set more than any other kid. He was there and was helping. So
Not
Yeah.
only you, he was asking me a lot, like, is there anything I can do to help? Which with what I was doing, there wasn't a lot, but it was always cool, like, seeing him ask and, like, being right into it.
all right, so let me ask you too. Isabel, this is your first camp where you were working the camp. And Truman, this is your first camp overall, but you came from an interning position at the studio into an intern position at the camp. So what was this like for you guys? And you know, maybe give our viewers a tiny peek at the behind the scenes of camp, what everybody doesn't get to see.
Well, I think it's so. When I went into it, I didn't expect it to be so like everyone working so hard all the time. Because after camp, all of the staff is just focused like 100% all night long, every single day, working their butts off to get the whole thing together, which I had no clue being a camper, that's how much effort like everyone put into it and how much time everyone put into it. So it was cool seeing that.
For me, I mean, it's my first time, so I pretty much had no idea what was going on. I was sort of just like, okay, when do I do this? How do I do this? Constantly, I was just like asking. But it was awesome, like seeing, like my first time behind the scenes, I guess. But it was chaotic, but in like a really fun way.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So so Broad Guy, what was your take on these two here?
I was blown away. Honestly, because like I've seen you guys in all kinds of settings, but what was really cool for me was we talked about this actually at camp. Like we'd seen you guys rise up already as students in Valleywood first and start to lead people within that. And so to watch you guys like sort of move around and find your own position.
I like how Brian itches his nose and it says move around in the same breath.
Yeah.
He's like, move
Move
around.
Move around. I'm going to turn the nose thing into
He's like,
a
I'm going to
movement.
pretend like I'm not itching my nose,
But
and then
I
I'll
am.
use
I
the
really am.
use the gesture as
as a gesture to move. It's 100% what happened.
I
man.
know, of course,
100% what
yeah.
happened. No, I lost my train, but
You were itching your nose. And
I was itching
going
my
around.
nose, and that was the train. No, but just to watch you guys do that, and I've gotten to teach you and just watch you come from just students into the role that you had, and like I said, we joke about it, but everyone's like Truman, and Isabel, and like seriously, they just have such an admiration for you. And the thing as staff that I really appreciated was when we needed you, and when we even didn't need you, you were already there, sort of like Colton said, just ready to serve and help. And Isabel, you were extremely helpful in my room, like extremely. And
Isabel was helpful all over the board.
yeah,
She filled into a lot of positions and was very mature. You're very mature, Isabel.
Thank you.
So
Yeah, she is.
so let me ask you, what was the hardest part of camp for the two of you?
Sometimes just communicating, since there's a lot going on. Just knowing, for me at least, since I had to be at a lot of places, just knowing when and where I can be at each place and when I'm needed was a hard part.
Yeah. So where do you think you can grow in that area?
I mean,
Because I know where we can grow. You know, we can communicate
Yeah.
better, and we can have clearer expectations and things. But when you get in on this kind of level, I'll just tell you here, where you're gonna want to start to figure out is what's most important.
mhm.
where's the place that I'm needed the most right now? Let me use my common sense and let me do that. Let me just keep listening to the room and fill in where I'm needed.
Yeah, what I would normally do is always check in right before you guys do a scene to see if you guys wanted me in there. And then if not, I was just around with Brian, or like around Isabel doing stuff as much as possible.
So here's how it'll go. Are you ready? So instead of this is a very simple change here in your questioning, and I believe in this curiosity idea that asking the right questions can be a big deal. So instead of you saying, "Do you want me in here with you filming?"
Yeah.
Because if you say that, I'm gonna go, "Yeah, be right here," and then your response might be something like, "Oh, okay, well, because I was thinking about," and so now all of a sudden I'm faced with all these new decisions, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if you followed me around at all during a studio day, but like my wife came down one of these days and she's like, I had no idea. She's like, I'm your wife. I was standing there and I had to get in line. There was like 12 people asking you, like they wanted you this and that. And I was like, yeah, that's totally true. And sometimes, babe, like the hardest thing can be when I've been like tossed back and forth all day answering questions and leading, for you to call me and go, hey babe, what do you want for dinner? And I'm like, oh, not another decision. Just decide for me, please. Just I don't care.
Yeah,
It's
that.
all good. So how can you alleviate that, right? So what you would do instead of saying, hey, do you want me here in this room, which causes a decision for me and it's a little vague, give me all the information.
Okay.
So what you do instead is you'd say, hey, here's what's going on. In Brian's room, they're all set. Isabel's helping out. Things seem calm in there. They're about to play X game, which I think could be cool to film. I see you guys are about to film in here. I don't see anybody on the fog machine. Would you like me to fill in the fog machine or go pick up this game over in Brian's room? Now you've given me an A-B decision. It's much easier for me to go, you know what, go over and film in Brian's room. That's more important. I'll get some. And if you wouldn't mind, send me somebody over to do the fog machine. Boom. Now all of a sudden, you've empowered me with all the information so I can make a really good decision. The second thing is, once you've done something once, once you've done something twice, once you've done something 3 times, you're really expected to know it. So once again, like filling in the information the best you can. So instead of going like, hey, where's this, where's that, where's this, where's that, go actively try to find certain things, right? So like if you were missing a chord or you know, whatever, if you've already done it once, you should know.
Yeah.
Go check different places. So let's just say something silly like the walkie-talkies, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm like, hey, go get some walkie-talkies, and we've had this conversation before, don't say, where are they?
All right.
Okay. Instead, you're going to go, you might say, I forgot from yesterday. Where are they? That's easy. Then I can go, oh, they're there. And then you're going to remember. If you do remember, what you do is you go look real quick. You go, zoop, come back, and you're like, hey, they were at the front desk yesterday. Of not there now. Do you know where they are? No, I don't. And then you go, quick, great. I'll check with next person in line instead of standing there. So the idea is like move, curiosity, more information.
Mm-hmm.
So we're dealing with really framing here, is what you're talking about, Matt. Kind of framing the person
Yes.
with exactly what's going on, which we talked about this the other day, which goes straight into improv and everything, really.
Knowledge is power. So when you can give as much information as possible, then good decisions can be made. If you don't give enough information, then all of a sudden, whoever the decision maker is, they're trying to figure out all the information before making a decision. So I'm a type of guy, and Brian will tell you this, I like to know the facts.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, hey, what should we do about this? And I'll go, well, and I'll question him about 5 or 6, 7, 8 more questions, because I'm not going to make a decision until I really know the facts.
Well, that's the first thing you say actually is, what are the facts?
Yeah. List them off. And what's funny is usually by the time Brian lists them off, he either knows them or doesn't know them. But if he knows the facts, he then gets through the facts and he goes, oh, I guess we should do this. And I'm like, yep.
100%.
All right, Isabel, for you, what was the hardest thing for camp?
I think just learning my part of what I was doing on the computer, and like just because everything's new to me, I guess. I've never done that before. Even when I went to work on sound one day, I've never done that before. So the whole process was really new for me, and just kind of getting the hang of it was difficult. But that was probably the hardest part, honestly.
Yeah, and you know what? Normally, I hold myself accountable for that. Normally, we would have trained a lot more. What was weird about this year is, I mean, we're usually gearing up for Valleywood 3-4 months in advance. We didn't know we were for sure going to have one till about 3 weeks beforehand. So all of a sudden, we had no script. We had, you know, no signups. We had nothing. And, you know, we're fortunate to have such a great community and people who just were, you know, who loved this product that we sold out within like the first week that we opened it up. Yeah. And then all of a sudden we turned around and we're like, okay, well, we gotta, like, I think the script was written and finished like 4 days before camp started. You know, and that's a beast in and of itself, because you have to write a script where 20 kids all have a good role, and the movie makes sense in some way, shape, or form, and it fits the genre that you've chosen and all that. So yeah, I mean, that was a big thing. So yeah, and I think you handled it really well. You failed hardcore.
Yeah.
Quite a few times.
I sure did.
You know who else failed? Your brother failed a couple times too. And yeah, he was so good. Like, the sound was great most of the time. And when I get a chance to talk with him, I'm gonna just encourage him to be a little bit more vocal than he was. Because when like, if he would notice sound sometimes was wrong late. So then again, not having all the information, he might be like, oh, sound's not good. And we'd be like, oh, okay, and we'd fix it. But he needed to say, sound's not good, and I don't think it was good, or I don't know if it was good for the last 4 takes. Because if we had that information, then we might listen to it back really quick and then reshoot something really fast while we have that, you know?
Yeah.
Can I really quick jump back on, you said Isabel failed, right?
Big time, just massive
so
fail.
much fail. But what was so cool was when you were so excited, Isabel, to learn and grow from that failure, that not only did you do that thing, but then she took that and we were able to use it the next day for all of the young campers, and literally pull Isabel up as an example of, hey, you made this mistake, but you owned it and you took it and said, let me fix it, let me make it better, and let me grow from it. And so not only did Isabel learn that lesson, but every single camper, all the way down from your youngest daughter, Rosalind, got to learn that lesson that day, because Isabel was willing to go, hey, oops, my bad, and not like go all negative about it.
Yeah, I mean, you get zero respect from me if you will not admit your failures. If you're like, hey, this happened, don't know how it happened, but it's totally on me, I'm like, boom, full respect, let's learn, let's do this thing together, let me help you.
Right.
If you do not take accountability, then you lose respect from your leader, because they're like, well, what do you mean you don't know? Like, don't tell me you don't know, just tell me, hey, it's my bad, I messed up, I didn't understand it, will you please help me? No problem. And so, you know, when I say massive fail, you failed massively, which means I failed massively, which means Joey failed massively, which means, you know, we failed as trainers to get you up to speed in time.
Me too. I'm in on that failure.
Yeah. Well, this particular one, you're not in on the failure.
Oh, okay. Well, we're all in on it always.
It's an editing. We're all in this together.
Once we know that we are, we're all stars.
Well, you know all the words.
I know all the words.
Ryan has every word.
That's where I mumble usually.
We see that. I was in show choir. What do you expect? I know every word.
Ryan's word for word.
Yeah, 100%.
I love it. Okay, all right. Were you the Zac Efron of the choir?
Well, yeah, a little bit.
All right.
Really?
Yeah. I was. What do you mean, really? Okay.
It was a small school, like a really small school.
It was small.
Right.
It was small.
It was a small town, actually, not that small of a school.
Yeah, pretty big school for a small town, actually.
Yeah. All right, so we're going back into the failure thing. I mean, so great. And here's the deal, though, too. I also don't respect you if you didn't fail.
Yeah.
Because what does that mean? If you didn't fail today in some way, shape, or form, that means you weren't pushing yourself hard enough to try something and go, you know, outside the box. And now the failure, hopefully you get good at failing, so you fail before it matters.
Right.
So like, for instance, we have now troubleshooted these cameras and troubleshooted us going live. We've now done that maybe 100 times, and we were still under the gun yesterday. But it came to the point where Joey's like, I can do this. And I'm like, all right, I trust you. But I wouldn't have trusted him 3 months ago. I'd have been like, no, we're not doing it. Because he hadn't proven himself that he could fail enough times that I thought he was going to get through it. So failure is what makes you stronger. You know, when we talk about working out, for instance, you're going to work out hopefully to failure. If you work out to failure, that's when you grow muscle. That's when you get stronger.
Right.
All right, favorite parts of camp now.
Oh gosh.
Is it like the "We love you, children, we love you"?
No,
children?
not
Okay.
nuh-uh.
Just checking.
If anyone's confused, the girls loved him.
Of course they did.
Little
Look at
girl.
him. Look at him. He's
In love with
they
him.
love braces. Girls love braces. That's the way it is.
Really? How do you know that, Matt?
I know girls. I had an
Okay.
I had an older sister and a younger sister. So I was in the middle of two girls.
So he knows everything about girls.
So I would listen to my sisters on the phone, and I would see what made him cry, what made him laugh, and I'm like, okay, well, I won't do that thing, and I will do that thing. So yeah, I mean, obviously, I know something about girls. I landed Leanne Deering as a wife, so
Joey
True.
Sweeney, fact.
she is
Joey.
the best, and wow, I'm a lucky dude. All right,
For me, honestly, just the kids made it really fun. The whole thing, just being around every one of them, because they all have such a good attitude about things, and they all get along really well and make the environment well. So I think if I went in there and like no one wanted to do anything, no one was excited, it would have not been fun.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? They made it really fun, the kids.
that's a good answer there. Truman's gonna have a hard time beating that one.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was at the end of the day when we were playing the video, just like hearing the kids laugh during it, because it felt like the work I'd done all day
Yeah,
was worth it and like actually meant something. So that was really cool. And then just working and learning a lot was really fun for me, because I haven't been challenged in that way in a while.
it's
Yeah, I
like
agree, learning.
It's like when you put the movie on, you know, and I mean, I know it was like this for Joey. I was watching him like intently watching the movie, but watching the audience watch the movie, you know.
Yeah.
And when you've put a joke in that's supposed to be funny, and then like it either hits or doesn't hit, I mean, it's grueling.
You're like, or it's
And
like,
so then the big laugh happens, and you put the joke in the video, and like the whole audience laughs. It's almost like you can't even enjoy it. You're just like, okay, good, that worked, and then you're on to the next thing, you know. And then when one doesn't hit, you're like, oh, I knew it. I knew that wasn't funny. Dang it, that's my bad.
should take that out. Ah. Well, speaking of that, Joey just crushed. I mean, and I know we've talked about him a couple times today, but man, did he crush on that edit. That
Oh, yeah.
edit was incredible.
good.
And there were, like, it's part of the movie making stuff. We're frantically working our butts off to get everything out in the 4 days. And day one's like a half day. Because
Right.
obviously we're getting everybody in costume, getting them set, telling them about characters. And we barely film on that day. So it's really like 3-day filming.
Yeah.
And so we miss things.
Well, you guys got to see a different version of me than most people get to see.
yeah.
And the reason is because of the coronavirus, we had to downscale a little bit on our kids. We still took in about 8 less than we normally take in. I know we squeezed in a few extras, but we took in less than usual. And we had to downscale our staff too, because we just needed to keep the size of everything down. And so normally I'm in more of like an overseer role, and we end up hiring out a director, and we hire out, you know, an editor and a cinematographer, and then our team still has to fill in all the blanks. So we're usually still as busy as we were, but we just have a few less jobs that we're doing. Well,
Right.
I was tasked with training everyone on how to film a movie while we were filming the movie, you know? And so I'm like, and this is how this works, and this works. And you know what? Okay, great. I'm going to do it for you really quick. And let me show you. Okay, good. Now let's move on. And, you know, I mean, that was a huge undertaking. And Joey's one of those people. And Joey had never filmed a movie before, not even a short, like nothing. He's done a lot of video editing for us here at the studio over the last year, but he had never filmed a movie. And I told him, I'm like, it's totally different, bro. Like, a movie is totally different. It's like you got to look at it differently. Like we're telling a story, you know. And I'm like, shots that you don't normally get, we have to think about, you know. And I'm like, in the editing room, it's the same thing. Like seconds matter. And I mean, even right up until the like the last edit, I was sitting here, and it was moments before the movie was going to go live, and he was showing me just a little part of it, and I was like, all right, cool. So there's dead space here. Move this left. Move it left. He's like, more? And I'm like, yeah, it's got to go. Move it left. So he moves it over, and I think it was the knock part, and then he plays it back, and he goes, oh, that's funny. And I'm like, yep. Seconds. Like seconds matter. It's crazy.
Right.
Like if something's off by a half second in a comedy, you miss the laugh. And so that was really fun to be teaching while we go, and then the next time we do this, there'll be less teaching that has to be done, and everyone's going to know a little bit more about what they need to do. So
Right.
In July.
Hey, so quick question for you. I meant to ask you this earlier. Who was interning when you took camp, Isabel?
Phoebe and BB.
What was that like for you to see them interning? Do you remember them as interns? Like, did that have an impact on you?
I really wanted to do it. So when I was doing the camp last year, I was at that stage where it was like my last year, you know, I was like right up there, and I wasn't like playing around, but I wanted to help. So seeing them, like BB with all the tech stuff and Phoebe with the kids, I really wanted to do that like so badly. And so I kind of like took after them and like helped the kids out last year, so to hopefully do it this year, which I got to.
So what was it about them like that made you want to do it?
They're like, I guess the whole BB being on the tech was like such a, oh my gosh, I someone that's kind of my age can do that. And like I can take on that role and be like responsible, and Phoebe being very good with all the kids and being like a role model at my age was something cool that I could look after.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I mean, and that's another thing where you realize, and you both did this for us, and hopefully you'll do it again next year. But you're setting the tone for the next group of kids coming up who will want to intern because they'll want to fill in your shoes. And it's only a certain kid in camp that sees that and goes, oh, that's so cool. I want to do that. I want to be a role model. I want to be somebody who takes on that kind of responsibility at a young age. Not everybody does, but the few kids in camp are like, oh man, that's so cool. And so you're already setting the tone. You're setting the expectation for the next group of kids that are coming up.
Well, we talked about this yesterday too. It's impact. So this is like where you get to impact other people, and you will have no idea the amount of people that you've impacted. Like, it's quite possible that BB and Phoebe have no idea that you had that kind of impact until now.
That's right.
Until now it's on the show.
Yeah.
And that's what service is. You come in and you serve, and you guys worked your tails off. We were here early in the morning, and we were here, camp's done, and you'd think, you're exhausted, let's go home. No, like, it's for an hour plus, it's like, let's go. Let's keep going the way that we've been going all day, and clean and get everything set for the next day. And when you do that, it can feel difficult, but man, you're setting people up in that way. Like,
yeah, I talked about this yesterday too. There's the after camp sort of like, thank goodness it's over. And then I think it's like the next day or even later on in that day, you're like, oh, I miss it. Like, I miss the push, because it's actually really fun to push your own instrument as far as it can go. And then you start to go like, how else can I do that in my life? I don't have a camp that's going to force me to be active 24/7 and make me better 24/7. And that's what the camp does for us. So, that's pretty cool.
And constantly learning like new things this week. I learned so many new things that I've like never been I've never experienced. So it was really cool for me and like fun. So the whole day, even though we were all working so much, I was having so much fun learning constantly.
That's awesome. So let me end with this. I'd like the two of you to, I'm going to give you some homework, okay?
Okay.
So I believe we're both going to be interning in some capacity at the studio now that we're back from coronavirus, and I know you're both vacationing and doing different things, but other than that, you'll be around. So think about all you learned. Jot down notes about it, about like, oh yeah, I learned this, and then from there, think about what you'd like to learn more about. What you in what areas do you think, is there a way that whatever you did or struggled with could be easier? Because we are the first to say that we're not necessarily doing everything perfect. You know, like I love growth too. I love it. I'm obsessed with it. So I'm constantly looking for, is there a better way? That's part of the reason why we've set up this show 100 million times, is because I'm going, is there a way that I can just walk in the morning and just push a button and it goes? and we're not there yet, but we're going to get there, because eventually, like, I need to walk in and push a button and then the show starts. Like, that's what needs to happen. And so so you want to think to yourself, like, in whatever struggle I did, why was it a struggle? Okay, cool. Let me ask if I can repeat it. Like Isabel, let's just say, in what area could you come in and simulate what you already did and what you struggled through, and do it again and do it again and do it again? Because once you know it, like, we've already raised your value because you know more, but once you know it, where you could teach it and you could be the one in charge of it, then you've really raised your value. Then you're to the point where now you're valuable to this company or a different company in a totally different way. Because when we have to teach you in order for you to do it, that's cool, but technically we could have done it ourselves, right? But when you're at a place where, like, oh, like, you can just come in and you just do it, boom, now all of a sudden you've completely changed your value, either for us or any other company, where you're like, oh, you guys need this? Yes, I know how to do that. So look for that, and then look for ways that whatever our system is, then get curious about it and ask questions like, hey, have you tried doing it this way? Do you mind if I try it this way? I think there might be a shortcut. And then if you find that shortcut, once again, you have added value to our company. You've added value to yourself.
Right.
Okay? Yeah. So that's your homework. You're going to jot down the things you learned, the little things,
okay,
and then you're going to jot down ideas for how you think you could make it better.
Cool.
Okay.
And a lot of them will come from the fails. Remember Truman, you remember you failed here on this thing?
Sling box?
Yeah. Can't find it.
He's trying to find.
Here it is. So and I take responsibility for this, okay? So this is on me. But this thing broke. This thing, bummer. It's this port right here, okay?
Yeah.
Now, truthfully, these things, the cords for these usually break, but this thing actually broke. So this is going to cost us a couple bucks here to replace this. Now, I want you to think to yourself, okay, cool, this happened. Let me try to think about how. Cool. What were all the things I was doing, all the things I was being asked to do, moving from this to this to this to this? How could I have prepared better? How could the studio have prepared better? What could we have done differently so that would not have happened? Yeah. What cable could we have had? In what way could a cable be attached to this and strapped to something else so it wouldn't tug? Like, I don't know what, but that's the thing that you want to start thinking about for yourself. And if you deliver that information, that type of information to us, and it actually works, like this is like dollars and cents value, right? Let's say you came up with the answer, and I don't know what it is, but let's say you did. And let's imagine that this thing costs like $200. Once you come up with a solution that protects this piece of equipment for the next kid who doesn't know what they're doing, you just saved us $200. You just brought $200 worth of value to the company. Mm-hmm. And that's how you want to think about value, is like it's not even about time, you know. The time you put in, usually, like, if you're learning, like, that's good, but that's time you're getting. That's what's coming to you. Then if any time that you save somebody else, that's time you're giving back. So that's how you can evaluate your value, you know. So like Isabel, you sort of cost yourself time and at the same time saved us time with your mistake. But if you think about all the hours you spent labeling and organizing Joey's files, that's time you saved him, which is time you saved us on that editing process. Once you know that like the back of your hand, you could teach it to somebody else, and you could take on part of the actual edit, which I could teach you how to do. Now all of a sudden you're in an actual staff position, and you're now training the next intern coming up, and that's the place I think you want to be in.
Yeah.
Along with babysitting my children, apparently.
Yes.
Yeah. And
I
oh my
do.
gosh, is she good at that? She was so good at that. To the point Rosalind's like, can I have her up here with me for my speech?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Rosie knows it. Rosie knows a good girl when she sees her. All right.
Yeah.
So that is our show, gang. Thank you so much for being on this morning. I think
Thank you.
I know for a fact you beat me awake because I rolled out of bed like 6:30. I was out, you guys. Like.
When did you fall asleep yesterday?
So what time did we leave here? Like 3
Yeah.
ish. I think I went to bed at like 3:30. Woke up about 7:30 to my wife, who is like I said, she's an angel. So she had like a steak dinner ready for me. I played with my youngest because my oldest two were at their grandparents. So I played with my youngest. He went to bed. I watched about 10 minutes of a show after dinner with my wife. Fell asleep in her lap. She put me to bed. So I woke up at 7:30, was back asleep by 8:30, and then woke up this morning at 6:30. So
Nice.
I am fully rested and ready to take on the rest of the year.
That was very Notebook-esque.
I
It's just,
I have gone into the Matthew Deering hibernation state, and I am out and ready to be a bear.
bear. Yeah, you can't
I'm
say
ready to be a bear.
You can't say the word.
No, why would I? No,
No,
I never
ever,
would.
ever.
Ever.
You cannot
That's
say
the
it.
worst. Okay.
All right.
Here we go. Go Devils. That's the end of our
Devils!
show.
Woo!
And I want to say thank you all for watching. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It would sure mean a lot to Truman and Isabel if you subscribed to the YouTube channel.
Yes.
Do it.
Thanks for listening to Mornings with Matt. Please like, subscribe, and follow us at Deering Acting Studio to keep up with the latest content. For more information on classes, private lessons, or professional development coaching, visit www.deeringstudio.com. Have a Deering day, everyone.